Today we're announcing the results of a 6-month operation that targeted organized crime and gang members in San Diego who were working on behalf of the largest prison gang to destroy lives, businesses, and our parks and neighborhoods. Last Thursday morning, law enforcement fanned out across the county in a coordinated effort and takedown, arresting 39 gang members who've been involved in murders, attempt murders, robberies, arson, extortion, and weapons and drug trafficking, all at the behest of a notorious Mexican Mafia prison gang known as La M. It's the largest prison gang with ties to Mexico's drug cartels. The guns you see before you were seized during this operation, along with a multitude of illegal drugs. While people are sleeping in this beautiful San Diego, there is an ugly underbelly of crime that tries to tear at our neighborhoods, poor and rich. And the only way to stop them is what you see here before you, a coordinated, collaborative, fearless effort that says that we're going to hold the rule of law and we are not going to give up on any child or any adult for their right to be safe. These criminals took orders from cartel bosses operating in state prison and preyed on business owners by forcing mafia-style taxes. They dealt illegal drugs, including pounds of deadly fentanyl, committed widespread violence, and trafficked weapons, such as ghost guns and AR-15s. One of the 20 cases that my team charged involves a murder that happened in Chicano Park, committed by a 15-year-old with an AR-15 supplied by an older gang member. The extraordinary cooperation and expertise from our law enforcement partners has exposed the cartel bosses in prison who were calling the shots and putting significant pressure on our streets and our street gangs to operate in this lawless and reckless and dangerous manner. I want to recognize and thank, before I provide additional details, some of the people standing here with us today. This was led by San Diego Police Department's Gang Division with Chief Scott Wall. And the amount of effort that went into this case is really something for the history books. But it also could not have been done without cooperation with our federal partners at the DEA, represented by Brian Clark, who is our agent in charge, supervising agent, the SAC here in San Diego. And we're very lucky to have him. He is a no-nonsense person when it comes to these drug dealers. Also, thank you to Joseph Stearns, resident agent in charge of the ATF Los Angeles Field Division. He's standing with us in support because of all of the firearms you see here today. I want to also thank the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office, and the National City Police Department. Finally, I want to thank our own team of prosecutors and investigators. First, starting with my right and left hand, Assistant District Attorney Dwayne Woodley, and our Gang Unit Chief Deputy DA Robert Hickey, and Assistant Chief Christina Arlado, Deputy DA Robert Ekrit, who oversaw this operation with regard to the DA's office and is handling and overseeing multiple cases. Also, Mary Nayum, Deputy District Attorney in our Gang Division. And there are many more that you don't see today, that were there doing the work and preparing for this 6-month operation. During this long undercover operation, there are 20 cases that came out of it, cases of murder, attempt murder, extortion, drugs, guns, you name it, in terms of the array of criminal charges. We found that dozens of gang members were working on behalf of this Mexican Mafia, and the shots were really being called by one key shot caller within the Mexican Mafia. Now, the irony of it is this shot caller, who is Ronnie Ayala from National City, had murdered 3 people and attempted to murder a 4th. He received a fair trial where the death penalty was decided by a jury and affirmed by the court. However, our California Department of Corrections decided to close down death row and to release him into a general population where he has even more influence and access to our gang members on the streets. While these crimes happened all over San Diego, it was concentrated in the San Diego proper area in Barrio Logan, City Heights, and South San Diego. Every child in every neighborhood deserves to be safe. In one case, it was uncovered that an order was given to blow up a business. Why? Because the owner refused to pay the tax that was imposed by the Mexican Mafia. 2 grenades were seized during the operation. Other businesses were hit with Molotov cocktails. They were robbed, beaten, shot at, including legal and illegal businesses, such as illegal gambling dens. On multiple occasions during the operation, violent acts that were about to be committed were prevented by law enforcement. The level of lawlessness, ruthlessness that these cartel and gang members displayed are stunning, and I am so grateful for our law enforcement who risked their lives to keep San Diego safe. I'd like to turn it over to San Diego Police Chief Scott Wall to tell you more from the perspective of his police department.
Thank you, Summer. Good morning, everybody. This case is one of the greatest of our time. And the reason for that is the amount of violence, sophistication, and the amount of drugs and weapons that are being pushed by these individuals doesn't compare to what we see typically day in and day out. And it's happening right here in our own backyard. Cases like this don't just come together and fall in our lap. The reason we're here today is because we have men and women who are willing to step up and put their own lives in danger to protect the greater good in society and to stand up to the most violent people among us. So I would like to start by saying thank you to all of the men and women who were involved in this exemplary case. We are all safer for it. Secondly, the amount of collaboration that's required to make a case like this a reality cannot be put into words. From a federal level, with the DEA, the ATF, our U.S. Attorney's Office, our fabulous Stefan and all of her staff that have been with us every step of the way. Our other partner local agencies here that have stepped up to help. We could not do this without everybody, and I think this is a perfect example of how we are working here in San Diego to keep this city and this region the safest in the country. I'd like to close by saying this needs to be a message to those who wish to do harm, for organized crime. You can expect more of this if you exist here in our county. And so with that, I'll hand it back over to Summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And I'd also like to invite Brian Clark, the DEA Special Agent in charge, to let you know about their participation and more about the drugs that were seized.
Good morning. I'm proud to be here today with our law enforcement partners. The conclusion of this investigation closes the door on an extensive criminal network operating in San Diego County. These criminal networks are in business for two reasons: to undermine public safety, causing fear and uncertainty, and to make money. That money fuels a vicious cycle of violence, drugs, guns, and greed. In this case, the organization created a vast network to traffic guns and drugs, then used extortion, kidnapping, attempted murder, murder to torment and control the community. Organizations like this have no place in our neighborhoods, and we will not give them the ability to profit from their criminal acts. Those arrested are charged with bringing methamphetamine and fentanyl into our community, driving addiction and pain in their relentless pursuit of greed. Over 70 pounds of meth and nearly 60 pounds of fentanyl and 2,500 fake fentanyl pills were seized during this operation. Fentanyl remains the deadliest drug threat our nation has ever faced. To keep those dangerous threats off our streets and out of our communities, we will attack these networks at every level, from the street to the mid-level dealers and all the way to the top. I want to thank all of the agents, officers, and attorneys who worked tirelessly in this investigation. A case of this magnitude is like a puzzle, and it takes thousands of hours to put all the pieces together. More importantly, it takes strong relationships between law enforcement agencies to share intelligence, coordinate efforts, and maximize these resources. These partnerships have proven to be invaluable as we work together to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Agent Clark. So a number of defendants who were arrested last week will be arraigned today at 1:30 in Department 101. They are facing prison sentences from 3 years to life in prison, depending on what crimes they're charged with. I just want to take a moment to say the names of the leadership here that we have, of course, in addition to Chief Wall and Agent Clark. We have Assistant Chief Mike Holden, Commander Daniel Grubbs, Captain Manny Del Toro, Gang Lieutenants Chris Tevanian and Art Swedner, and also I think I got most of it. And there's a lot more people that have worked very, very hard on this case. I wish I could mention you all today. Do you have any questions?
Can you speak to a little bit more of the sophistication that was unfolding here, and for how long? Like, how long was this investigation? But in terms of the sophistication of what was happening behind bars that led to the streets?
I can also leave it to my partners here to talk, but from our looking at all the reports, this is very sophisticated. It's basically the Mexican Mafia, which is known also as La M, is the largest prison gang in the United States, and they operate in prisons, both state and federal, but more so in state. And essentially, they are shot callers that coordinate with Mexican cartels, and they also then give essentially orders to our street gangs, multiple gangs, on what they're supposed to do. Who are they supposed to execute because they didn't pay the tax? what business should they blow up, what drugs should they pick up, where the guns are. And all of this is done using cell phones in prison. And also when you put somebody of the highest order in the Mexican Mafia in general population, that provides them more access to give direction to other gang members that may be soon to be released so that they can provide that. And they even operate where they try to tax people in our county jail. This was a successful operation that we did a couple of years ago, where they even were giving orders to gang members who are arrested, who are in jail, to provide that money tax. And what does that money tax do? It allows them to buy more deadly fentanyl and more of these guns that you see here that are not there for home protection. They're there to kill and slaughter people on our streets. So yes, they're very sophisticated, and this is why it takes this kind of partnership, this kind of collaboration, this kind of courage. Otherwise, San Diego could very quickly turn like other places in the world that have absolutely no rule of law and complete lawlessness. We refuse to let that happen. So we are meeting them, and we are winning, and this case is a clear example of that. Anything you want to add, Chief?
How long did this, I don't know if you wanted to add
Go ahead,
that,
please,
you're welcome to,
Chief.
but how long was this investigation?
September?
6 months.
Yeah, so this case started with an original investigation, and then from the original investigation, it stemmed into this much larger investigation. I'm sure this isn't done. I'm sure we'll gather more information and continue to have this grow. As you can tell by the way that they're armed, when we talk about the level of sophistication, the network that they have to move money, move guns, sell drugs, and then extort legitimate businesses. It's already difficult enough as it is to run a business in San Diego. But to be extorted on top of that, all the challenges that you face, really, and the neighborhoods that they're operating in is really just despicable. And so when I say that this is the greatest case of our time, the amount of crime that is being prevented moving forward because these individuals are off the streets and will be doing serious jail time, San Diegans are going to benefit from this for years to come.
When you said store businesses, what areas were those businesses located in? What type of businesses, like liquor stores, gas stations, mom and pops?
Is any of that
So
quiet?
primarily, this originated with businesses down in the Logan Heights area, small businesses that we're trying to help bring back the Logan Heights community, retail stores, for example, sunglass stores, clothing stores, coffee shops, small, independently owned. These aren't chain stores that can afford to take on this kind of pressure and stress. They don't have the resources. So they were victimized, they were targeted. And when we started looking at those cases, and those victims were very reluctant to come forward because they have a lot to lose. We found other instances of, in some cases, businesses that were being operated illegally, but that were also subject to these taxes by the Mexican Mafia. Some of these cases were downtown, but primarily here in the core part of San Diego.
Did these business owners, did they say for how long they were extorted?
By the time we got involved, it had been an ongoing thing, and in some of these situations, they were reaching a critical mass. Their businesses, they were about to go out of business. They could not afford to keep their employees under that kind of safety issue. They were losing employees, they were losing money, and they were going to start pulling out, and in some cases, they did. They said, we can't do business here in San Diego like this. But it took that level of stress for these business owners and employees to find it worth it to put themselves at risk to come forward so that we could help them, because we need those victims to cooperate. And this was a huge community collaboration with San Diego Police Department, the ATF, the DEA, and the DA's office. And together, we all came together to start this thing. And then once we started running down these investigative leads, our amazing detectives and investigators, both on the local and federal side, they just went to town, running down leads, developing probable cause, new suspects, everything you see here and more.
You said some of the businesses wouldn't come forward, fear of threats to families?
Sure, there was no ambiguity. They were told that if you call law enforcement, what we're doing to you now will only get worse. We'll vandalize your business, we'll burn your business, we will beat your employees, we will kill you and your employees.
You mentioned that there was a minor involved in one shooting in Logan. There was more minors involved also in this operation, like in this gang?
So within the gang that the homicide took place, the Logan Heights, yes, there is no shortage of juveniles that are involved in these criminal street gangs. But yes, it was the 15-year-old that is going to be charged with murder along with another adult related to that incident.
I see 30 people that are listed here on the last page. We will do some research, but are there any recent cases that maybe we've covered that is tied into?
So, excuse me?
The original
So we can look at
September
our
1st
video
murder.
and our-
Yeah, so there was a press conference with San Diego PD back in September where those original taxing cases were discussed. And so you could reference that to kind of get a baseline for where this thing originated. Then we had a series of shootings down at Chicano Park that culminated in the homicide of, I believe the victim was about 19 years old, by a 15-year-old, suspect in that case. And then there was a lot of cases that we discovered that were unreported, violence, group on group, subgroups of these Mexican Mafia and organized drug trafficking organizations that were shooting at each other. We had a case in southeast San Diego where there were over 20 rounds exchanged on a residential street over a drug and taxing dispute. And when we went and served that search warrant, the neighbors came out and said, "Thank you for coming. We've been dealing with these people that we are scared to death of in our own neighborhood."
And then when it's the Mexican Mafia, do we know what cartel, the north one, the south one, there's many in Mexico?
So that gets a little more complicated because, like you said, it's fractioned and there are subgroups, but they are just one part of this. But there is let's call it, for lack of a better term, a cell or a group that we're operating here in San Diego that were associated with the activity of the Mexican Mafia, both working independently and in some cases together, both using criminal street gang members here in San Diego to ultimately carry out street-level crime, to do their enforcement, their taxing, things like that.
But we don't know which cartel in Mexico.
So it would be an offshoot of what you would probably know as like the AFO, Ariano Felix organization.
You touched upon this briefly, but you spoke about the fear that people have, but now in relation to these arrests and this operation, have you had a chance to talk to any of families or neighbors or victims, and how are they feeling? Is there a sense of relief?
So we were doing that in real time. We executed about, give or take, 30-ish search warrants, got 32 people in custody or arrest warrants. We did that all about at the same time. So all the various teams that are throughout the San Diego and in parts of the county, it was story after story of neighbors, businesses coming out, seeing the police cars out there at 5 in the morning, people going into handcuffs saying, "Thank you for being out here." I think every team probably had somebody come out, especially in the residential neighborhoods, because they know this is going on, but they felt powerless or intimidated. So they don't want to have a high profile, right? They don't want to come out and publicly get involved, but they are saying, "Thank you for taking this out of our community."
Now, is there any possibility that there's still more? Does this people safe already, these businesses, from this type of extortion?
So, yes. However, as the chief alluded to, there's more work to be done. These investigations are time-consuming, they're costly, they're dangerous for our investigators that, are behind the scenes actually doing this work, putting their hands on these items, dealing, face-to-face with these people. There's always more to be done, but I think we sent a pretty good message today with what has been accomplished.
How many of these individuals are going to be presented today? All of them?
Robert, I think.
I believe we have approximately 30 defendants that will be arraigned today on various charges.
Are they going to be present?
They have to be.
Yes, they will be present in court.
Is it this list here?
Yes, that should be the list of defendants being charged. Some may have made bail and will have an arraignment at a later date, but most of those arraignments should take place this afternoon.
Can you give us your name and title?
Sure, my name is Chris Tavanian, last name is T like Tom, I, V like Victor, A-N-I-A-N, and I'm the lieutenant for the San Diego Police Department's gang unit.
Now, this Randy, you mentioned someone named Randy. Is he also in custody?
Oh, you mean Ronnie Ayala? Yes, he's in prison.
Is he going to be one of the?
No.
100% now?
No, he was charged recently by the Sacramento U.S. Attorney's Office. So he has cases federally pending, not on the state side.
So he's in a prison right now?
He's in prison right now, yes. And has been since he committed the 3 murders in San Diego.
Okay, is he in California prison?
He's in a California prison, yes.
I am no attorney, but you mentioned a few of these defendants made bail. If they're so threatening to the community, how were they granted bail? I don't know how that works, but can you talk to that?
It's a really good question. So we are seeing a lot of this. There's a case that came out, Humphreys, that put a very high standard for our prosecutors to be able to keep dangerous people in and not have them get bail. And we fight this battle every single day. Different judges interpret it differently. Some judges interpret it as if you're a gang member and you're involved with Mexican Mafia and you're terrorizing our streets, that makes you a danger. Some judges interpret it that since the case isn't beyond a reasonable doubt, the trial hasn't happened, under that case, they should be released. It's a daily battle. But one thing that we do want the community to know is, as to all of the victims, they get contacted by our victim services at the DA's office, and they are told by our team, just like the police department, that we're not going to abandon them. So if they see or feel anything that feels threatening to them, that to make sure they call us, and we then work on putting the person back in custody or other actions to keep them safe. The safety of our victims and witnesses is a top priority. That's it. You got it? Thank you so much.